In the walled garden we've been making big progress with a gravel bed which sits on the east side of the old stovehouse. As you can see, there are echium and a fascicularia and other perennials which have overwintered. And Mike, our volunteer who looks after the cacti and succulents in the old stovehouse, has been setting out agave. As the summer progresses, we'll be able to bring out more tender species for the display. The stovehouse itself would have once been heated and would have been a big display house for tropical plants. It would have been kept very hot both summer and winter, with the raised bed inside having the hot pipes running through it. Now our mission is to keep it dry, as the cacti really don't like the wet on them in the winter. This is the rose border where we've been working a lot this winter. We've dug out a huge amount of Aquilegia from right under all the rose plants and mucked them extensively and turned it all in this spring. Behind is the herbaceous border where we've cleared and cut down, and just inside the walled garden is a tropical border which is springing into life now. The banana plants have been unwrapped and the paulownias have been stalled. The little fernery on the right's just been cleaned for display. Under the copper beech we've had a fine show of bulbs this spring. As you can see here, there are still daffodils showing, and on the banks down towards the fountain pond there's a lovely show of primroses. The pond area is one we are working on this summer and next to represent it as a more formal feature. The 4 flower beds we're aiming to clear. As you can see, we've done this one. The one next to it we started on. We then aim to turf them over a little, reduce them in size, make them more symmetrical, and uncover the paths which were once between them. We can then turn our attention to the statues in the pond. With the aid of a grant, we hope to rebuild the level of the pond and restore the statues which have suffered badly. The winter storms have caused a lot of damage here at Quex. This beech tree came crashing down through the woodland walk on an area we'd just started working on. After Christmas, this is the scene that greeted us. Fortunately, we quickly got it cleared and managed to move on with more planting throughout the wet winter months. The Aquilegia from under the rose beds and many primroses and forget-me-nots from the fountain beds have come into this area and are putting on a fine show this spring. We've lost a few trees in this area, which has allowed a lot more light in. This has opened it out to a nice woodland glade, allowing us more light and therefore a better variety of plants to be able to be put in. We've put in shrubs as well as herbaceous material, and everything here you see has been taken from other parts of the garden and creates an enticing entrance to the woodland. Elsewhere in the woodland, we've been working on some of the other beds in the glades. This one was cleared, weeded and added to extensively this winter. We've now got a fine show of primroses and bulbs, and later in the summer we should have Rebecchias and Japanese anemones, which are all taken from the fountain beds. These areas have been tended and weeded and cleared by volunteers, and on the left we're seeing the first signs of a whole bed of lily of the valley coming up. We're lucky to have a great variety of different daffodils and narcissi here at Quex. We've seen a great display of them this spring already. This is an area of the woodland walk and garden we've been putting a lot of effort into. It's our sort of backdoor view into the woodland. People using the other businesses at Quex, going to the livery or later on into the maze all pass by this spot and can look into our woodland walk. So we've been busy. The volunteers have cleared the ground and we've planted a great many specimens of plants from elsewhere in the garden, which will hopefully screen and provide a good show for the visitors as they pass through here. Elsewhere along the woodland walk, our young acers are coming into leaf. We're lucky to have quite a few nice specimens here at Quex, and now we've lost some of the bigger trees, they're given a bit more room to grow. One large tree came down in this area, a big beech. We've turned into 2 benches with some money given to us by a benefactor. We've had a fine show of bulbs here this spring in the woodland. The volunteers started clearing this area way back into last summer, and as they've progressed they've uncovered more and more daffodils and snowdrops, which the visitors have enjoyed this spring. This area again was ivy and brambles right to the path, and nobody had seen such a good show of snowdrops before. The big clumps you can see here show how many there were, although they've all gone over now. This is a very good time to lift and divide the snowdrops as they're still in the green. This is our small wildlife pond area at Quex. We're lucky to have a colony of great crested newts on the site, and for some time this area has been completely unmanaged. Thanks to the Kent Wildlife Trust, we now have a really specific management plan for this area and have been able every Thursday throughout March and April to go in with a small gang of volunteers and clear some of the vegetation and worst weeds which are surrounding the pond margins. Hidden away in this part of the garden are our 2 young peafowl who we've been looking after all winter, kept in this big run. Soon they'll be released for the visitors to see. This concludes our tour of Quex Gardens for the month of April. By Easter the tulips should have come out in the pots by the wedding gazebo, and by the end of the month these trees will be in full leaf rather than the winter structures you see here at the beginning of April.